What's going on, everybody? Christian Hanna Horror here today, and yes,
New cut. I can't just do a video and not say nothing.
got a new cut. Sydney's with me here today. We're gonna do our top 10 favorite horror movies. Emphasis on the word favorite, because it's not the best, what we think is the best, but it's our favorite. We're both gonna do our list. We're gonna go 10 to 1. And we'll both reveal our number 10s, number 9s, etc., etc. Before we get started, I will say about me, my list, kind of reflects who I am, I think, because I'm a kind of person who tries to enjoy the simplest things in life, and my movies that I like, I think, kind of reflect that. So just keep that in mind with my movies, and I think you'll enjoy my list, and I think it's a good list. And Sydney, anything you want to add about your list?
Mine is not in any particular order until I get to the number 1, and there's going to be a lot of older movies, not a whole lot, but a little bit more of the older movies, because that's what I more grew up with, is more the older movies, so I have a special place for those.
My number 10 is a freaking Nightmare on Elm Street, The Dream Child. Now, that movie came out in 1989. There's something about the year 1989 that I love. I wish I could have lived through that year. It just seemed, movie-wise, it's my favorite, the way movies were, looked, and I love the way Freddy looked in that one. I love the story, and it's one of my favorites. So that's my number 10.
My number 10 is Evil Dead 2. I like the comedy in it, and I love the Evil Dead franchise. I think they're really great, but Evil Dead 2 is my favorite in the entire little trilogy, and I mean, I don't know, there's not much to say about that movie. It's just a really great movie.
Number 9. For me, people are going to call me a sequel slut, but my number 9 is Return of the Living Dead Part 2. Watched it probably a few years ago with my brother. It's just my kind of movie. It's comedy with the horror in it. But it's more so comedy than horror, which for some reason, I love. And I love the music. The music in the film is kick-ass, and I'm a musician, so that's one of my favorite things about movies. So my number 9, as mentioned, is Return of the Living Dead Part 2.
My number 9 is It. Pennywise is absolutely terrifying to me because I hate clowns, and there's something about him that it's just so menacing, and I think he is just a great, villain.
Number 8. People are probably already getting aggravated at my list, but I'm about to piss y'all off more. My number 8 is Freddy's Dead. I love Freddy's Dead. If a horror movie was to be made for me, it would definitely be Freddy's Dead. That is, the music kicks ass with the Goo Goo Dolls. Freddy looks awesome. I love the comedy in it. I loved everything about it. So my number 8 is Freddy's Dead.
My number 8 is House on Haunted Hill. I love Vincent Price. I love all the movies he's been in, but for some reason I like House on Haunted Hill the best. Just a lot of the imagery in it was just really great, and I like the story in it, and the remake. But I like that movie.
7. My number 7 is freaking Silence of the Damn Lambs, because that was a movie that slipped me, and I hadn't seen it in a long time, ever actually, until last year. And I knew who Hannibal was, but I never put the name Hannibal with the movie. I thought Silence of the Lambs was something else. And that was the only movie that I've watched in the last maybe 5 to 10 years that really scared the piss out of me when I watched it. As a 21-year-old, I might have been 22 at the time, 22-year-old dude, watch it. That's the first time it scared the hell out of me. So that's definitely number 7 for me, is Silence of the Lamb.
7 for me is Suspiria. I love the Suspiria theme by Goblin. I thought it was amazing, so that made it up there. And then I like the whole storyline with the dancers and the witches, and there's scenes in it that just really stuck with me, even though it has its flaws, but I just really like this movie.
My number 6 is the freaking Candyman, because that, to me, a lot of people complain about the 90s horror sucking, But to me, some of the freaking best ones came out of the 90s. And Candyman, for me, that's one of the only guys till this day that scares the hell out of me, because a 6.5-foot black man with a hook and a pimp suit, that would scare the piss out of me. But that's my number 6, is freaking Candyman.
My number 6 is Friday the 13th, the first one. I love Jason.
She likes the remake.
No, not the remake. I love Jason, but I love Mama Voorhees more. I love her character, and I love, I like that one the best. I loved her character. I thought it made sense. And, even though I love the whole franchise, and I love all the movies except for X, it made sense to me, and I love her character, and so I loved it.
My number 5 is the best Friday the 13th, in my opinion. Jason Takes Manhattan. And why are y'all laughing? Because it's not a game. I love Jason Takes Manhattan. Like I said, that came in 1989. It just looks like an 80s film to me. I just love the music, for one thing. Darkest Side of the Night is... If you're a Friday the 13th fan, whether you like the film or not, everyone loves that song. It's a great song. I love the way Jason looked in it. Kane Hodder kicked ass. I just love the movie.
My number 5 is Psycho. Everyone should know Psycho. I love Alfred Hitchcock. I love, a lot of his movies.
I love Vince Vaughn.
I'm gonna hurt you eventually. But yeah, it's such a great movie. It was such a great cast, and it was just, I don't know what to say about it. I don't know what to say for a lot of these movies. They kind of speak for themselves for me.
I would say to me, that's the greatest horror movie ever made. But my number 4 is, take the dog for a second, please. Hold my dog. My number 4 is, to me, my favorite zombie movie on the goddamn planet, Return of the Living Dead. Because, like I said, if you knew me in real life, I'm goofy. That movie was made for me 100%. As good as Night of the Living Dead is, it's one of the best. The Return of the Living Dead is my favorite. The music kicks ass. I just did a music video for the Trioxin theme cover I did, which got a good response. I appreciate y'all. And I want to do a little plug. Hopefully this book doesn't get green screen, so I'll put it up to me. Return of the Living Dead, the complete history. This is like the equivalent to Crystal Lake Memories. This book is bad to the bone. I swear to God it is. You find out everything in this book. It talks about 1, 2, and 3 in depth. But anyway, enough about that. Return of the Living Dead, I haven't met a single person that says they don't like Return of the Living Dead. That is the best zombie movie on the planet to me, and it's my number 1 favorite zombie movie. Done.
My number 4 is Halloween 3. Even though it doesn't have Michael Myers, which a lot of people hate it for, they can go somewhere for that. But I like it because, even though it doesn't have Michael Myers, it has such a great story. And I think if people took it as face value for, what it is and not, for a Halloween movie, I think they would really enjoy it because it's got such a great story. And it's got, it's got everything to me. So, Halloween 3 is my number 4.
When I first got into horror, for real, when I wanted to get into horror, I wanted to get into slasher movies. I had never really watched them. I'd always known, obviously, you can't live on this planet without knowing who these guys are. And I said, Mom, can you get me a Freddy movie? I think I want to start out with a Freddy movie. Do you want the first one? I was like, sure, give me the first one. Well, she comes home from Blockbuster that day. She goes, the first one wasn't here, but they had part 2. I said, well, I guess that won't be a big deal if I skip the first one. And I watched Freddy's Revenge. And after watching every single one of them, that to me is the scariest, the best one, because Freddy is really only in the movie for about 15 minutes total. He's not overused in the movie. He's the scariest looking by far to me. I love Jesse's character. I love the whole the psychosexual stuff in it, although I didn't really realize it until after watching the documentary. But it's got such sentimental value to me, and I think it's the scariest. So.
My number 3 is Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I love Leatherface. But I love the grittiness and the dirtiness of this movie. I thought it's great. I feel like I'm redundant here with a lot of these movies. But I love the grittiness of this movie, and I love Leatherface, and I love his character a little bit more than I like Jason and Freddy. And that's my number 3 is Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Number 2 is going to be a movie that deserves to be a number 2, and it's disrespectful that Sydney put this as high up as she did, as low as she did. My number 2 is Stephen King's It, because
I told you mine weren't in
let me
order.
Okay, well, I was saying before I was interrupted. It's a TV movie, but it's and the reason I put it in there is because no one realized this was a TV movie up until a few years ago, because it was so good. People just said, I guess I missed that in theaters or something. I've heard a bunch of people say that. But it is, to this day, the scariest, the greatest thing ever made. The greatest, to me, it's the greatest horror movie character ever made, in my opinion. To me, he's scarier than Michael. He's scarier than all of them. And just it shows what a fine actor Tim Curry was.
My number 2 is Freaks. It's a movie from 1932, and it is such an interesting movie to watch because you've got real live, freaks playing these characters, and so it's just so interesting to watch all these people, and it's really got a great storyline, and it's got a great plot, all that, and it's just so interesting to watch all these people. So that's why it's really is like my number 2, because it's just so interesting to watch all these people, and it's just so it really does have like an eerie feeling into the whole film, and so I really highly recommend this film if you've never seen it before. So that's my number 2 is Freak. My number 1 is Bride of Frankenstein. I love this movie, but I love it for really weird reasons. There's a specific scene in it where Dr. Pretorius is talking to Dr. Frankenstein, and he's showing him his little experiments where he pulls out these little jars, and he's showing him these little people in these little jars, and Dr. Frankenstein is just like, oh my gosh, even though, you made Frankenstein's monster, but he's pulling out these jars with these little people in it, and it was so magical to watch the scene, and it sucked me into the movie. And I just completely forgot that this was a movie from so long ago, and it was just so, I don't even know what word to use for this because I sound so redundant in this video, but it was just so magical, and I love this movie so much because of just how amazing it was. So Bride of Frankenstein is my number 1.
My number 1, drum roll please, is Jaws the... No, I'm just kidding. My number 1 is Season of the Freaking Witch, Halloween 3. If you've been on my channel, if you're a long-time viewer, you know this. The first time I watched the film, I was going through collecting the movies at the time. Like I said, when I got into the horror craze, was just collecting the movies. Didn't really know it was not a Michael Myers film until I was like, well, I need to get 3. When I was going to FYE, I looked on the back. I was like, is this the right movie? Watched it. It was weird because the first time I watched it, I was like, okay. And I just started watching it again, and I noticed new things. I'm listening to the music in it. I love the masks. I'm a sucker for just, novelty type stuff. I love those masks to death. If I had a gun pointed to my head and somebody said, you have to say Halloween 3 sucks, I would tell him to screw himself, because I love to death that movie. Best Halloween movie. It's my favorite Halloween movie in the franchise, much less, my favorite. But, that shouldn't have came as a surprise to y'all. Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. You can hate on it, that's fine. But just don't say you hate it because Michael Myers isn't in it. I'm sorry. But, that's our top 10 list. So, I'd love to see, if you guys want to, please give us your comments, drop us your top 10 list. Tell us if there's ones in here that you agree with, which ones you think we might have left out or that we should have reconsidered, whatever. Give us some feedback. Be sure to give this video a freaking thumbs up. Check out my last video. We did a makeup video, and I thought that came out pretty awesome. We're going to try to do some more. I got a request to do a Pennywise, which I would love to try to do that, but we have to see because we're very limited as far as what we can do, obviously. But thanks for the continued support, guys. I've gained about 60 subs in like the last 2 weeks, which is it's crazy how much this channel's snowballing. It just feels good. But yeah, anything else you want to add?
Nope.
All right, well, y'all be good. See y'all later.